Alistair Murray from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you, Alistair. Welcome. Joe Holtzman saying hi from snowy Colorado. Estes, Colorado. It's that time of year. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, as we said on the cover slide. Ed Worley down in SoCal. Hello, everyone. Well, maybe he's not in SoCal. He's on the road visiting family, he says. Fritz Mueller in probably sunny and warm Miami. That's Miami of Florida, not Ohio. Warren Schasser in Brisbane. Another Aussie on here today. Aussie. Saying good morning to Tom and Julia. Julia's not with us today. She's up at her wine country home in Calistoga. Beautiful Calistoga. About an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes north here of San Francisco. So we'll do this one alone. It's always easier with Julia. Always easier with Julia as we prepare to get this one across the starting line. Welcome. Live from San Francisco, it's show number 664, Sailing Illustrated, our regular Tuesday and Friday live stream, webcast, video podcast, call it what you want. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. We are live as usual from Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District here in Studio B. No Julia today. You see her golden scarf over there hanging from her microphone boom arm, and her headset on the back of her chair. She is enjoying a very well-deserved day off up in, as I said, in Calistoga. She's watching the show, chatted with her briefly this morning, and welcome again to all of you. Thanks on this Thanksgiving weekend here in the States. Thanks for your continuing support via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated if you're not already a supporter. Helps keep us on the air because we don't really have any sponsors. Every now and then, if a FOSI comes along and says they want to sponsor a segment, we might do that. But otherwise, we rely on you, our viewers, for a little support. We appreciate it very much. Pedro Foiling Sailor, another Aussie, saying, hi, Stingray. Thanksgiving in Seattle was wonderful. He says until last evening when the San Francisco 49ers showed up and clobbered, although it got closer in the second half, but they really did dominate the game over the Seattle Seahawks, the arch rivals up there. Stingray, sorry about that, but good game, at least in the second half. San Francisco, the poor man Scarborough. Well, I think Scarborough is probably a little safer, a little cleaner than San Francisco is these days. Andrew Pindar, thank you. Oh, look at this. Jody Shields, he's up early. Time is, it's 8 o'clock, 8:03 in Sydney. Good day to all wherever you are around the world, Jody Shess says, excuse me. Graham Sweeney, good evening all. Graham was our guest, live guest from Scotland on Tuesday's show. Alistair Murray replying to Stingray, go 49ers. He's cheering for the 49ers. John Emmett, who of course has a regular report for us coming up here in a moment. Next stop for Olympic qualification, he's heading to Thailand. Interesting. Speaking of Graham, we want to thank Graham very much for appearing live via Skype and 125 some odd slides that he showed us. Fabulous photographer that he is, a dedicated FOSI, really one of our super FOSIs now. And it was a delight to have him on from his home in Mid-Yell, Shetland, up there, northernmost point, I guess, in the UK, way up and closer to Norway, he told us. And much appreciated, Graham. Much, much appreciated. Sweeney saying, in fact, replying to Pindar, at least San Francisco has the Golden Gate. Scarborough only has the Golden Arches. He was funny, too, Graham was, on the show on Tuesday. We appreciate, again, him coming on. I thought we'd start with this day in history and see if any of you gets this. Without Julia sitting here, I don't have a foil. I don't have somebody to say, hey, Julia, here's your first clue. So we'll give it to all of you. It is from the 24th of November, 18 59. And here is your first clue. David James talking about Denmark, yeah, and how Denmark gave up. I guess it was a wedding gift, wasn't it? Is that what Graham Sweeney said, that the Shetland was a wedding gift from Denmark to the UK? Jody Shields says today marks 28 years of being married to the one and only Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. The old Beach Boys song. I must be the most tolerant person alive. She must be the most tolerant person alive, Jody. Thank you for that. Darwin published. Fritz Mueller's got it. Right off. Graham Sweeney's got it. Ted Ryman's got it. Graham Sweeney was born. No, I don't think so. Darwin. Worley and Holtzman say that is true. It's not that he didn't go on the tour. That was a little bit earlier than 1859, but he did publish. Here's a caricature of the famous Brit from circa 1871, only 20 years after the America's Cup, and this was in one of the British magazines, humor magazines, when he came out saying, man is a descendant of the monkey. And of course, most people, especially those of a theological bent, did not believe that, didn't take that very well. This was, of course, the boat on which he went around the world. The boat itself went around a couple times, but this is a reproduction by Robert Taylor Pritchett from the first Murray Illustrated edition of the HMS Beagle was the name of the book then, in the 1890s, well after his theory had been published. That is, the famous Darwin, Charles Darwin. This was the tour around the world, the circumnavigation starting out in Plymouth in the UK and going south to South America, around South America, and across to New Zealand, and of course to Australia, and up and around through Mauritius, Cape Town, back over to Brazil, and then home to the UK. This was the second voyage of the HMS Beagle from 27 December 1831 to the 2nd of October 1836. Was the second survey expedition of the Beagle under Captain Robert Fitzroy, who had taken over command of the ship on its first voyage after the previous captain, Pringle Stokes. What a name. Pringle Stokes committed suicide. Long, tough voyages. Fitzroy had thought of the advantages of having someone on board who could investigate geology and sought a naturalist to accompany them as a supernumerary. At the age of 22, the tender age of 22, the graduate Charles Darwin hoped to see the tropics before becoming a parson and accepted the opportunity. He was greatly influenced by reading Charles Lyell's Principles of Geology during the voyage. By the end of the expedition, Darwin had made his name as a geologist and fossil collector, and the publication of his journal, later known as, well, The Voyage of the Beagle, gave him wide renown as a writer. You know how he could afford to do that is that his father, who was not poor, gave him an allowance so he could go around the world and study geology and other things. Darwin spent most of the time exploring on land, 3 years and 3 months, 18 months at sea. So bulk of it, again, on land. Early in the voyage, Darwin decided that he could write a geology book, and he showed a gift for theorizing. At Punta Alta in Argentina, not Punta Ala, Punta Alta, he made a major find of gigantic fossils of extinct mammals, then known from very few specimens. He collected and made detailed observations of plants and animals. His findings undermined his belief in the doctrine that species are fixed. He thought species were fixed, even he, and provided the basis for ideas which came to him when back in England, leading to his theory of evolution by natural selection, which, of course, as we said, was not very popular out of the box. Extremely controversial at the time, Darwin's themes and theories now underpin much of modern thought on the natural world. Darwin established that all species of life have descended over time from common ancestors. In a joint publication with Alfred Russel Wallace, they introduced the idea that this branching pattern of evolution resulted from a process that he called natural selection, in which the struggle for existence has a similar effect to the artificial selection involved in selective breeding. Darwin published this theory of evolution through natural selection in his book, quote, On the Origins of Species in 1859, 8 years after the original America's Cup AC0. The theory was supported with compelling evidence from his journeys around the world. So that's what happened on this day. He published, that is Charles Darwin, who lived from 1809 to 1882. And it was on this day that the English naturalist Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species, radically changing the view of evolution and laying the foundation for evolutionary biology. This day in history, 24 November 1859. Darwin, all of you got that. Good evening from Denmark, Gordon Smith is saying. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you if you're celebrating it wherever in the world. We are here. It's a long weekend, the 4-day weekend. That's why Julia's off today and up at her home in Calistoga. Replying to Pin, we do have the Golden Ball Pub, the Golden Ball Slipway, the Golden Grid Fish and Chips Restaurant, but our arches of all hues fell to the floor many moons ago. After that announcement, Sweeney says the religious sages went ape in 1859. Jody Shields, if you turn that photo upside down, it looks like a schooner of beer, or is it just me? We're going to talk about Jody's propensity for beer. Thanks to Ted Ryman, who submitted a cartoon in the D block. Which of the people Darwin discovered were the most primitive? Was it in Perth? They ready to say. Charles Darwin was educated by his uncle Erasmus Darwin. Gordon Smith says a member of the Lunar Society. Well worth Googling this remarkable group of people. Smart people on here. Smart people. Yeah, the Darwin Award's always good fun. That for the people who seem to have done stupid things. Just stay tuned. Just tuned in. Tom, happy birthday. Thanks, Mark Husted. Thank you very much. That's something else that happened on this day in history 70 years ago today in 18? I hope not. 1953. What is today, Julia? If she were sitting here, she, of course, is not. She would tell you, of course, it is Black Friday, the big shopping day, kickoff of the Christmas holiday shopping season. Black Friday deals on now. Lowest prices of the year, not necessarily because there are other now Black Fridays in July, for example. Amazon and others run it. But we did do a little research for you. And the best list of sailing-related deals we found on Yachting World, the esteemed publication from the UK, from GBR. Black Friday, they say, is upon us. To save you shopping around, we, Yachting World, have picked out 39 of the best Black Friday boating deals available from across the big brands and niche retailers. Here are some quick links they said in the article. I commend the article to you, yachtingworld.com. Amazon, they said, West Marine, Decathlon, Helly Hansen, Walmart even, Gale Force Marine, was it Gale Force Marine, and North Sails, all having, among many others. It's quite a good article. Well done by Yachting World. A lady close to our heart, Sharon Green, and her Ultimate Sailing site, they have a sale going on this time of year, always on her, not only her upcoming calendar for 2024, but other goodies. And you can go, this is not a commercial. We use her stuff. We appreciate her. We love her to death. Her dad, her late great dad, was a friend as well. They're Canadian, Toronto, although she lives now down in Santa Barbara. That is Sharon Green. And one of the things I like most, I don't have it, maybe she'll send it to me, but you'll recognize that photo because we use it here in the show. She calls it Flying Colors, taken here on San Francisco Bay during the Big Boat Series. Ultimate Sailing's 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. Bloody hell, 1,000 pieces. But with all those colors, should be more easy to do than some of the more obtuse, some of the more arcane ones where the colors very, there's a whole lot of things all the same color. I prefer crossword puzzles myself. But Sharon Green's UltimateSailing.com has some great bargains. Sadly, her playing cards, her deck of cards that have pictures on the back, and obviously the face cards and the normal playing cards. But she on the back are pictures of hers, and they're fantastic. But they're sold out. I would like to have one of those too. It is winter here, nearly so, in the northern hemisphere, and your sailing season has ramped up pretty nicely in the southern hemisphere. But up in Alberta, Canada, ice boating is underway. They've got 5 inches of ice on this lake up in Alberta. This is a photo courtesy of Scuttlebutt that I saw this morning. And we will tell you that in December now, even though it's winterizing up here, there are some major soft water events coming up 30th of November through the 3rd of December. So next weekend is that AC 37 preliminary regatta, which some of us are not too fond, supposedly taking place in Jeddah on the Red Sea in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Also next weekend, the SSL Gold Cup semis and finals are running the 2nd and the 3rd. They've got one more. They've got the so-called quarterfinals coming up here in a couple, 3 days before that. But next weekend, the SSL Gold Cup semis and finals in Gran Canaria. In España, 9th through the 10th, Emirates Sail GP in Dubai. That's also coming up over there on the other side in the Middle East, but that's over, not on the Red Sea. That's over on the Persian Gulf. And the 9th through this much safer Persian Gulf, I might add. 9th through the 15th, World Youth Match Racing Worlds are in Sydney, I think hosted by CYCA, Cruising Yacht Club. And to top it all off, the 12th through the 17th of December, the World Match Racing Tour Finals are in Shenzhen, China. Talking this morning a little bit about that with our good friend and Fozy James Pleasance, who told me that it sounds like one hears that there is going to be the World Match Racing Tour Women's Championship is going to be here as part of the Vela Cup in San Francisco again next May, give or take May. So Julia will look forward. I know she's watching the show. We'll look forward to that. And then finally, on our Christmas night, on your Boxing Day down under, the 26th of December, the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race will start on your afternoon of the 26th in Sydney. We will carry that live, as usual, on our Christmas night here in San Francisco, and enjoy very much bringing that to you. We'll have a watch party with all of you around the world. It's late at night in Europe, and it's, as I said, midday down there in Australia on your Boxing Day, the 26th. So coming up, a very busy period. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you as we're celebrating the 4-day weekend, as I mentioned, here in the States. This is our special Black Friday show for the 24th of November, 2023. And I thought it was appropriate at this point to ask all of you watching, whether Fozy or you're maybe becoming Fozy if you become fans of this show. Friends of Sailing Illustrated, a little Fozy focus for all of you. And I ask, in your sailing lives, for what are you most thankful in your sailing lives? You know, we're all thankful for our families. We're all thankful for freedom and for our safety and, you know, the first responders and so on. But in your sailing lives, what is it for which you are most thankful? I go to the comments for that and ask all of you. Alberto Sanchez, good night from Gran Canaria. He's there. We are enjoying here such a wonderful event. SSL Gold Cup is a blast. Joe Holtzman says in his sailing life, he enjoyed racing at Portage Lake when he was living in Michigan, my home lake, and at our home club, Portage Yacht Club. He's now retired in Colorado. Yarvahe says the people and places that you meet in our beloved sport. John Emmett, I am thankful that I am still able to sail. And not only does he sail, but he sails extremely well. He is a mountain of fitness, John Emmett is, and gives us our regular report for this show. Graham Sweeney got a mate sailing the Sydney Hobart in what? In. Alistair Murray says the friends he's made through our beloved sport around the world. And Alistair's one that I met many years ago, thanks to our sport. Joe Cool, kiteboarding. Got to travel the world because of kiteboarding. Traveling the world and friends seems to be a common theme. Graham Sweeney says, scallywag. Emmett, there have been a few injuries which make me think maybe I would never be able to sail again. But luckily, he is a fitness guru as well, brings his comments and expertise to us in his biweekly reports, twice weekly reports. Clark Chapin, the people I've met through sailing, from beginning sailors through Olympic medalists. Clark also contributes so much to our sport, not only as a leading light here on Sailing Illustrated, but also as a race officer and judge. Mark Husted, who is an Aussie living in Sweden, who gives me good advice. I hear from a lot of you, and Mark's one of them that I hear regularly. I appreciate, Mark, your advice. What I'm thankful for, I'll tell you after 2024. Okay. Ditto Alistair Murray, Gordon Smith saying, what a fabulous way to meet great people. Joe Holtzman talking about our little boat business in Michigan, what used to be called TJ Sales, now called Midwest Aquatics. It's run by Rick Lyons, another terrific sailor from our home club. Rick watches this show. He has been working at Portage Yacht Club and at the boat business there for more than 50 years. More than 50 years, and he is a rock of the ages there at Portage Yacht Club. Fritz Mueller saying, my parents were anglers. They got us into opties and eventually taught them. Grateful for the many mentors, and eventually taught them. I don't know if he taught his parents then. Grateful for the many mentors of my youth and my parents who had the courage to let us run with it. It's true. It's so different now with phones and the tethers and so on that the kids have. But, we all used to get in our little boats and go off sail across the lake, across the bay, across the river. And, the parents said, well, if you get stuck, go ashore and find somebody and get some help. And call us on the landline. Different age. What else here? Crossing the Atlantic on an 80-foot ex-Whitbread boat, Ryman says. Ted Ryman, that sounded exotic. Jody Shields, I was thankful that I was on the commentary team for season 1 of Sail GP. It has shattered me since that I'm not involved. I wish Jody was doing the commentary, was the commentator for SSL Gold Cup, because with all respect, the Swiss gentleman who is doing it is Croutonic. That's another story. But at least he's there doing it. He's probably a volunteer. I was thankful that I was on the commentary team. Well, we were too, Jody. I was in Newport in 80. It's not that Jody's bad, or not that he was. He's just lives in Australia, and the commentary team now works on a sound booth in London. So Russell Coote saving money by not shipping Jody around the world, which is also sad, because having the commentators not only at the event, but as we do at Gov Cup, which Andy Rose, and before him and us doing Gov Cup, Peter Montgomery down in New Zealand proved so well that being out on the water on a boat like he was covering the Australian Cups in '87, but also covering the Kiwi Cups on North Star, it makes a world of difference if the commentators are on the water and not locked away in a sound booth someplace, maybe half a world away. Julie Ahrens, she is thankful for being in Newport in '83, the Cup there, and I will be in Barcelona in October 2024, as will Stingray. But above all else, the good friends that I have made over the years, and Julie's a good friend that I've made, despite us having differing opinions sometimes. She is nonetheless a class act and a good lady, and I appreciate her very much. Our Vahe and the night sky, nothing like it out in the ocean. Chris Fury, people I have met through sailing, including my sailing wife. Nice. Graham Sweeney, I'm thankful for those that taught me to sail and for my nautical family who inspired me. We learned more about that. If you haven't seen Tuesday's show, if you didn't see it live or in replay, go back and look at it, because Graham was just a gem. It was wonderful. John Emmett replying to Jody Shields, not sure how to like this. Not sure what that means. Stingray, they should bring you back, given the headlopper foils they will be introducing soon. So there's some of the comments from the Fozy. Interesting. Some of the comments from the Fozy about what they appreciate, what they are thankful for in their respective sailing lives. And I just want to add to that, I am super thankful for yacht clubs, and particularly volunteers, whether they're race committees, volunteers or otherwise. This is the scene. This is the race committee celebrated on their website by the Middle Harbor Yacht Club down in Sydney. A terrific club. We don't talk too much about it. They get overshadowed a bit by the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron and, of course, the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. But yacht clubs and volunteers, whether at my home club, little club in Michigan, or large, august, esteemed clubs like St. Francis Yacht Club here in San Francisco and the other big clubs around the world, it's the people. It's the volunteers. And I particularly like this photo from the Cruising Yacht Club. You know what this team, I wish Julie were here. Do you know what this team does? They're well dressed. They have matching shirts. Any of you know? Can you make out the fine print on their shirts? Right here. It says, "Enjoy breakfast. The CYCA breakfast team." The breakfast team at the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. Now that is cool. And they're volunteers. And on their website, they had this to say: "Our passionate volunteers make the CYCA so special. With racing, events, and off-water activities year-round, the club simply could not properly function without this dedicated group of people. The board of directors, who are all volunteers themselves, are always looking for members to donate their time and particular skill set to enhancing the CYCA's reputation as Australia's premier yacht club, or so they say on their website. And it arguably is the premier yacht club. Some would take issue with that, maybe even Alistair Murray, but what a great club it is. Rich Fishbeck, thankful for our parents getting us a kite sailboat and sending us to the city of Newport Beach sailing program. Nice, Rich. I'm grateful, as is Julie, to Rich Fishbeck and his wife, who every now and then, when we're doing one of these long watch parties here in Studio B, they'll send us a meal. They'll order a meal sent in to us, and we appreciate it, or for us to eat afterwards even. Graham Sweeney, I'm sure we are all thankful for sailing. Yeah, okay. Thank you to all of you. We're thankful very much to all of you. Volunteers are the key to keeping our sport accessible and enjoyable. Ed Worley says, how true. And Rich Fishbeck, which he's making my point in 4 words, and that is that volunteers make a yacht club. It's not the bar. It's not the facilities. It's not the swimming pool. It's not the docks. Yeah, it's maybe the yachts and it's the racing for sure, but it's the people. It's the volunteers who make yacht clubs, and yacht clubs make our sport. Paul Henderson makes that point. Many of you on here, including and especially President Alistair Murray of Australian Sailing, make the point over and over again how important the volunteers and the people are in our beloved sport. Speaking of which, speaking of whom, a photo that Julia sent just before we went to air up at her Calistoga home today. Beautiful day up there. It's probably 60, maybe 60 degrees here in the marina. It's probably 90 degrees up there. It'll be a warm day, clear, beautiful day, maybe not quite that warm. And Julia is up there enjoying the holiday weekend with friends and surrogate family. Thanks for that photo. And I just want to say thanks to Jan Miner, who sent the photo, but also a special thanks to Julia, who, without whom I wouldn't have a nice apartment here in the marina. I wouldn't have a co-commentator and a lot of other things. We appreciate very much the things she does for us, that is Sailing Illustrated, and for me personally here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Happy Thanksgiving, Julia. Enjoy your time up there, your well-deserved long weekend at your wine country home in Calistoga. Nadine Franczyk is watching. She, a leading light at St. Francis Yacht Club, one of the top sailors and women sailors at our beloved club, a couple, 3 blocks away from us. And John Emmett putting a little bit of a cheers, Julia, Stingray saying. And John Emmett saying, the bar does help, though, if your yacht club has a bar. It's not the raison d'etre, but it's certainly part of the social scene. And, of course, it's the bar that helps create the social scene. But you can be drinking water, and that's a social scene as well. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for those nice thoughts. If you haven't, add to them if you're just joining us. And Alistair saying, speaking of the CYCA, it's certainly one of our premier yacht clubs, the top 4 in our banding. our CYCA Sandringham Yacht Club there. That's in Melbourne. Royal Sydney, of course, back in Sydney, and the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron. Good points. Thank you, Mr. President. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to our special Black Friday show, our Thanksgiving weekend show. And we are thankful, especially to all of you who make contributions, and to John Emmett, who is perhaps the superest of super Fozies, gives us a report every Tuesday and Friday, almost without fail. And he, even on days when I can't do a show because I'm traveling or whatever, or Julie and I have something else going on, but even on those rare occasions, John still, more than not often than not, submits a show, a report, as he's done again today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to Imberhorn Farm. It's another windy day, and actually it's often pretty windy this time of year, so nothing to be expected. Nothing unexpected. Hope you're all well. It's going to be a quick one. Doing a fleeting visit to the farm, and every time I get here and open my post, there's a whole host of scary real life things I need to do quite urgently, but I wanted to have a quick chat to you. First of all, I guess your new game for next few shows is moustache or not moustache, because even I don't know quite when it's coming off. You may have seen it's made appearance in the last show. We call this Movember, and it's to sort of help us think about prostate cancer and some of these other men's health issues. My uncle, or rather it was my great uncle Cecil, used to live with us on Imberhorn Farm. He came here when I was about 13 years old, and unfortunately he died of prostate cancer, so it's something which is very close to my heart. What you normally do is you shave at the end of October, and then all of November you grow a moustache. Very simple. You may have noticed, like many things in life, I was a bit of a late starter. So the reason I didn't do it earlier, I think I said I was doing a photo shoot for the Ilka book. And I thought this book is hopefully going to be read by lots and lots of people. And I really didn't want to have a half-grown moustache in the book, because people would wonder what on earth was going on. I mean, probably it's not actually that noticeable when the main focus is me capsizing to windward, coming into a leash, or tying ropes. I don't even know how much you'll really notice my face, but I thought if you're going to do something like that, I want to do it properly. So I started a couple of weeks late. So here we are. Got rid of the bottom bit because it was pretty white, or at least grey. So what am I going to talk to you about in Coach's Corner? I said it's going to be pretty brief because I'm trying to be singly focused, and I need to go and do some of the real life stuff. But I have a lot of themes which are quite common, and the reason I keep on circling back to them is I just think that they are so important. So a little reminder today, and I will try and do some more footage here from the farm, is this idea of being dedicated, or perhaps more applicable, to be disciplined. Yeah, I know it's very easy to talk as a sailor or coach about being motivation and being motivated, but actually motivation can come and go on a daily basis. There's always those days where you're really motivated to get up in the morning and crack on, and likewise there's probably those days that you're really not that motivated to get out of bed for whatever reason. I mean, I'm motivated to do some of my tasks now because I have letters written to me in red pen, but maybe that motivation is a short-lived thing. It's dedication which builds success, and the reason for that is because it's dedication that makes you do things when perhaps you're not motivated. You know, not many people probably like running at 4 a.m, but if that's what you need to do to be fit enough because you're still holding down a full-time job, which is what a lot of us used to have to do, then that's about being dedication, and I think dedication is what you need. I'm going to leave you guys here as I rang back inside. It feels winter's coming, and this is, believe it or not, filmed right in the middle of the day for Tom, so a bit more daylight than the last one, and hopefully I'll join you on the show. Not driving this week.
Now, before I leave that shot, I want to point out, and I don't want to make a big deal here, but if any of you is interested in upgrading your audio when you send us videos or other video videography that you're doing. You see this? This is a wireless mic that there's several different top brands of these, Rode, and I don't know who, let's say some, I don't know who John's using, but there's several top brands, DJI and others, where it's a simply clip-on mic. It's wireless, runs to your camera, plugs in, whether it's an iPhone or a proper, DSLR type camera, and it records the audio. You can even stick a chip in it. You can even stick a little SD card in it, and it'll record the audio right on. But then you have to take the audio off the card and plug it in and sync it all. It's a lot easier just to record it. But for those of you wanting to upgrade to improve the quality of your audio or whatever videography you're doing, this is the key. As you can see here, John's got that. And rather than having a handheld mic, you can even use this as a handheld mic. I mean, the kids all do this now. They TikTokers and others that have these little wireless mics. They don't care about holding in their hands, and it's kind of the cool thing right now. Thanks, John Emmett. We appreciate that very much. That, of course, John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. His regular reports on Tuesdays and Fridays. Bravo Zulu. Time for a Bravo Zulu BZ. A couple regattas we have been covering. And this one has wound down now. That is the TJV, the Transat Jacques Vabre. We told you that 3 of the 4 fleets had finished. We told you that on Tuesday. Well, now they've all finished. Not completely, but the winners have all been identified. Banque Populaire, of course, BP11 won the Ultime race. We told you a long time ago. They finished a week and a half ago, right? First boats. And then in the 50s, the Ocean 50, Thibaut Vauquel, Thomas, and Quentin Vlamnik, they won on Solidaritas and Peloton on their Ocean 50. And we told you also on Tuesday that Thomas Riant and Morgan Lagraviere, sailing a yacht called Four People, they took first place in the TJV in the IMOCA category. And now yesterday, this pair, an Italian pair, Forza Italia, what a great name, Ambrogio Beccaria and Nico Andrew won the Class 40. And Italian skipper Ambrogio Beccaria and French co-skipper Nicholas Andrew sailing the all-Italian Musa 40 Alla Grande Pirelli. Pirelli's also a sponsored member of the Luna Rossa Pirelli America's Cup team. Took first place in the highly competitive Class 40 race on the 16th Transat Jacques Vabre, Normandy, Le Havre. Two-handed race when they crossed the finish line off Fort-de-France, Martinique in a beautiful morning sunshine yesterday at 08:01:36 local at a little afternoon UTC. The elapsed time for the 4,045-mile course was 18 days, 12 hours, 21 minutes, and 55 seconds in a record-sized fleet of 44 boats, which started from Le Havre on the 29th of October, but paused in Lorient, as you all remember, for 7 days to sit out that huge storm in the Bay of Biscay. Beccaria and Andrew, both of whom are high-tech type engineers, were also first to complete the stage to Lorient. So bravo Zulu to them. Here is the daily report, not from today, but from yesterday, because it outlines their win.
After the suspense of the final days, it was Italian-French pair Ambrogio Beccaria and Nicholas Andrew who won the Class 40 category. After choosing a more southerly route from many of the other boats, they finished in 18 days, 12 hours, 21 minutes and 55 seconds. We'd already invested quite a few miles to get into the trade winds, so we weren't going to throw everything away to head back north. We're doing the Jacques Vabre, we're going into the trade winds, and we're staying there. It was an intense race with boats challenging all the time. It was a pressure that was hard to keep up for 17 days. It's good to have two drivers, but you need a great boat too, and that's what we had in this boat. Meanwhile, day and night, the IMOCAs keep arriving in the bay of Fort-de-France. I hope you appreciate our timing. We worked hard not to wake you up too early. We saw that some people didn't respect that last night. It wasn't very nice of them, so we left a bit of distance and we thought it was better to arrive now. Yeah, it was all worked out. Still out at sea, the sailors are eyeballing their competitors. Café Joyeux, with whom we've been in contact with for a while. And as we approach Martinique in the heat of the West Indies, we're cooling off as best we can. Are you feeling better? Much better.
An Italian team was third as well in the 40s. It looks like they're dominating that class. If you call it first and a third, I think there was a British team fourth, so it's not strictly a French-dominated class. Now, back to the IMOCAs for a minute. We told you on Tuesday that 4 women in the top 12, Samantha Davies, Justine Metro, Clarice Kremer, and one of our favorites, Pip Hare, sailing with Nick Bubb, finished in the top 12. Pip was, in fact, 12th. We had a little bit of discussion about that the other day, but I confirmed she was 12th. And here is a video, very nice video, not long at all, less than a couple minutes, summarizing her race.
We've had our start briefing. We're definitely leaving tomorrow morning, 8:30 UK time. Well, that was another start that I don't want to repeat. Last night was brutal and dark and seemed to go on forever. Sadly, the biggest consequence of that front last night was our mainsail. I can't believe it's only Friday. Feels like we've been absolutely through the mill.
First day with a proper big smile on my face in a while.
The wind is dying down, sea state as well. So we've decided now is the time both to take our 5-hour penalty for going between the inner distance mark and the start tug. But also we're going to have a go at repairing this mainsail. There we go.
Hopefully we fixed our mainsail.
Incredible array of colours in the sunrise behind me this morning. Wind is coming. Yes. Good morning. We left Sleepy Hollow. We're now entering the Thunderdome. We have been quite literally flying. Got 1,000 miles to go. We found the wind we went looking for in the west, and mostly today I shall be trying to keep the boat going at over 20 knots.
Fast and furious last 24.
It's noisy down here. We're nosediving quite a lot. Welcome to the dawn on what I hope will be the final day of our Transat Dakar race on board Medallia. Well, we're in the final 500 miles of the Transat Dakar, and everything is still to play for.
The last few hours have been a little bit of respite from the hard reaching we've been doing the last few days.
And then our finish is up in Fort-de-France there.
Pip Hare and Nick Budd finished 12th in the TJV. Nice video. I like that video. Wish more teams would do that sort of thing. Just do a quick under 2-minute recap of their entire race. Nice summary. Well done, Pip. We'll keep following you as she gets ready to do the Vendée Globe next year, and the rest of the IMOCAs do as well. That's it for that this edition, the 16th edition of the TJV. Maybe we'll see some more wrap-up videos from them, in which case we will, no doubt, play them for you. I really like that race. Thanks to John Sangmeister, who has encouraged, and others of you who have encouraged us to cover that. A couple others comments here about what they are most thankful for in your sailing lives. Mark Michelson, who of course is our Sailing Illustrated weather guru, says, "I am thankful that it was a below average year for hurricanes in the Atlantic basin with only 16 total. Only six. I didn't realize there were even that many total fatalities. And I don't know if Mark saw Tuesday's show when we we used his picture of his beautiful home up in Idaho with all their Christmas decorations up and the reindeer and so on out front. And you did that as a correct or crutonic. Mark, if you didn't see that, we did. And I thought it was correct to put the Christmas lights up anytime after Halloween. I enjoy Christmas lights. There are a lot of them up here in the marina and elsewhere. I know down in San Diego, they put them up early down there. I think anything in warm weather climes that could give you a sense for a bit of a sense for Christmas is welcome. But Mark, I got to tell you, most of the foes, he said, don't put your lights up until after Thanksgiving weekend, or maybe during Thanksgiving weekend, which of course is what is happening here in the States yesterday, today, tomorrow, and Sunday, 4-day weekend. And today is the big shopping day, Black Friday. Gordon Smith, apropos Movember, John's, you said it, was it Stingray? His mustache, which makes him look a little bit like a 70s porn star, at least in the face. Sorry, Julia, if you were here, you could give me that wave of the finger. Men need to put more focus on their health. Gordon Smith says, catch things early enough and they are so much easier to deal with. That's the Movember, getting guys to go and get checked for prostate. I'm pleased to say I have done that because my dad had a bout of prostate cancer. He's 90 and going strong. And all my PSAs and all those things are quite good indeed, knock on wood. John Emmett, Gordon Smith, for sure there will be one plane in the back. Okay, he's talking about the plane noise. Stingray, how did anyone with half a mustache get past natural selection for this long so far? John, back on that microphone thing, saying I have the Rode DJI, and today I used the Sony for the first time. But again, those clip-on wireless mics, go to your camera, whether it's an iPhone. It's a great piece of kit, and they're not expensive. You can get the inexpensive Rode Me, I think they're called ME, wireless mics for $150, give or take. Probably on sale on Black Friday. Do these wireless mics work with? Yes, Jody Shields. They'll work with anything. It doesn't matter what you're doing, Facebook Live broadcast or otherwise. The point is that you're feeding the audio into whatever camera you are using. And they come with even multiple adapters and cables. So they'll go into an Android phone or an iPhone or, as I said, a DSLR camera or your computer even. They're pretty good. Do these, like we covered that. Mark Hustad, how's the feeling on the AC? Well, I think most people on here, Mark, are pretty skeptical about it. It's still the pinnacle event in our sport. I think it always will be. I hope it always will be. I hope it comes better than the current state we find it in. We'll talk about that in a minute. Andrew, Dolly DeVolitz, medal race at the Pacific Games today with my little Fiji team all on the podium in Ilka and sailboards. Very proud of it. Congratulations, Andrew. It's great news. Stingray saying it's amazingly cool that so many people get to race all these amazingly cool, not to repeat yourself, Stingray, amazingly cool yachts. What a life. Mark missed it when we made gentle fun of him the other day, or at least some of you did. I thought it was correct. A lot of you thought it was crutonic, though. He said the kids in our neighborhood up in Idaho, he used to live in SoCal, but they were not sunnier climes, but certainly in terms of, as Joe Holtzman will attest, who also used to live in SoCal, lower taxation, safer, cleaner place like Idaho, Colorado. People are moving out of our state, out of our beloved city here in droves. Mark Michelson, the demand for Christmas lights here is so high that the companies have to start. Yeah, I gave that explanation, Mark. They have to start hanging them in September to get them all done. And it's not so much hanging them as it is taking them down in January when it's icy and cold and snowy. And the answer, Mark, everybody said, leave them up year round. Some more comments back and forth about mics we don't need to cover. Fritz Mueller, AC needs to be the battle of yesteryear and not the circus it is now. Fritz, I think most people would agree with you, and one can only hope that somebody other than the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron / ETNZ win it. At least I fervently hope they don't repeat, because I'm afraid it's going to then end up in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we have sport washing in an even bigger way than we have this coming weekend, if in fact the event happens. Before we talk about that, though, let's cover a cool event happening in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, the SSL Gold Cup. And yesterday, it looked like Team USA, who had been trailing in their group of 4 in the round of 32, 16th, 16th finals. It's a bit confusing. I'm going to send a long email to Kayard and the gang and give them some suggestions. And any of you have suggestions about this, like using high point scoring? Excuse me, guys. It's too confusing. But nonetheless, it looked yesterday like Team USA was on the move, but not to be. Malaysia had to come from behind, and I would tell you more about that in a moment. But before we get to that bitter pill, I did not know, and maybe John Emmett knew, but maybe few, if any others of you knew, that the captain of Team China at the SSL, they've just been eliminated, but the captain of that team is our own Fozy, John's wife, Lily Zhu.
What is in your team emblem? Could you explain it? It's a dragon, and dragon means lucky in China. I know dragon probably means evil in the Western world, but it means a very good fortune in China. Who is your sailing hero? Ben Ainslie, because he's the greatest Olympic sailor in the world, winning 4 gold and 1 silver. In addition, he had also won the America's Cup with Team Oracle, but I really hope that he can bring the cup back home to the UK as the skipper, Team GB. Say 5 different knots in 5 seconds. Oh, I don't know those in English. Reef? Bowling? Which music make your day? Sailing. I am sailing. I am sailing. I'm not a good singer. Who has the easiest job on the boat? Helm, I think. Physically, definitely helming. Show us what you usually do on the boat. Helming. I've sailed single-handed dinghy most of my life, from Optimist to Europe and to laser radio, which is now Ilka 6 class. Now I'm learning foiling on a Wasp, so the majority of time I'm sailing myself. If I'm switching to a big boat or a keelboat, sailing with a group of people, probably one thing I'm most good at is helming. What's the best meal to eat after a great day sailing? Pasta. Apart from sailing, what is your favorite sport? I do a bit of everything, like from cycling, running to swimming, but mainly to keep fit and keep healthy. But nothing can compare with sailing, because just enjoy sailing so much. The time flies whenever I'm on the boat. So quite often when I go ashore, so many hours passed. When I do some other sport, I feel the time so slow. Half an hour, an hour. So sailing is the best sport in the world. Open the box in the corner, take it and go back to the bench. That's the London Olympic gold medal. It reminds me a lot of the memory back in 2012 when I won this gold in Olympics. This gold medal was the first ever in Asia, and nowadays still the only sailing dinghy gold medal in Asia. I think I not only made a history for my country, but also made the whole Asia proud. And then I remember a lot of people cheering for me on the medal race area. I realized several generations of Chinese sailors dream Now, the real medal is in China Maritime Museum. So if you ever travel to China, to Shanghai, pay a visit to the China Maritime Museum, and you'll see a lot of exhibits that I donated, and hopefully to showcase a bit of my experience and story in order to inspire more people to join the sailing family.
Now, that was a cool video, as many of you said. Gordon Smith, that is an amazing statistic. It is indeed. Such an impressive person, Chris Exley is saying. Just fabulous. Greg Phillips saying, Lily is a delight. Yes, Mr. President. Alistair, she sure is. After sailing, what is your favorite sport? Long pause. And she had to think about that. Basically said, the others are just fitness, and they're boring. And you know, the time passes slowly. This is excellent, Gordon Smith. Ted Ryman, Lily is cool. Ha, great video. Stingray says. Emmett says, of course, he's not even biased. It is a great video. He loves that video. And bravo Zulu to you, John. Thanks for sending me the link. I would have probably found it anyway, but it is an amazing video about an amazing person, and we appreciate it very much. And her. We got time to get her back on here. She's captain of the team. She's the Paul Cayard of the SSL Gold Cup team. And bravo Zulu to her. So this was the situation going into today, the fourth and final race in each of these. There's 4 divisions. And it looked like the U.S. last night was maybe, if they had a good race today, was going to scrape by and be one of the 2 teams that went forward to the next round. Well, the results were topsy-turvy, and indeed, not only did the U.S. not go forward, neither did Argentina, and Hungary and Malaysia pipped them both and went forward. So how did that happen? Well, in the third leg of today's race, Malaysia established a slight lead over the U.S. The U.S. had been leading off the starting line, with Hungary coming back into contention as the 3 frontrunners entered a tacking duel 100 meters from the windward mark. Malaysia made it to the mark just in the nick of time to maintain their lead, with Hungary and the USA only seconds behind. While the Argentinian Condores were forgotten at the back of the fleet, just meters separated the other 3 as they jostled for first place down the final leg. But the Malaysian Monsoon, that was the name of their team, managed to jibe defensively to secure the victory, only beating the Hungarian Shamans by 3 seconds. Celebrations for both teams as they go through to the quarterfinals, while bad luck for new rivals teams USA and Argentina, who already have to go home. So now again, this is where the scoring is very difficult to understand. You can see that the 1 Malaysia, that's not a win. That's a last place. That's a win. That's a last place. And that's a first place because you scored double points in race 4. So they got 8 points. And there's ways to do that, but it's too confusing. It's croutonnic. Total of 14 points. Hungary, 3-2-2-6. Those are points, not finishes. Argentina, 4-3-3-2, 12 points. And the U.S. with a 2-1-4-4. That's a second place. That's a first place. That's a first. I mean, it's just, come on, guys. You expect the sailing public to follow this, let alone the non-sailing public. Okay, it's their first time around. I love what they're doing. 56 teams. There's some other things they can clean up. And as I say, I'm going to send a long memo to Kayard and the other guys and gals running this thing. And if you have comments, please send them along, or send them yourselves, or send them to me, and I will build them into what I send them. One of the things I'm going to talk about is the commentators. Robert Hobbs on the left, longtime acquaintance. He's not a great buddy of mine by any means. He sailed at Yale. He's a terrific sailor. He did the America's Cup and won the America's Cup several times with various teams, and also he was on teams that I opposed. And he was the color commentator they co-opted because he had been. Robert was. He grew up here in the States, and he's now has been for a long time in Spain, in fact, in the Canaries. And he was co-opted in as the color commentator today. He was the coach, ostensible coach. He, I get volunteered to help out with the American team, and commented. I saw a text that he'd sent to a mutual friend that it had just been a very light series and kind of light and tricky. Robert did a great job though doing the commentary. This guy Jan Dorset, excuse me, I don't know. He sounds American, but he's apparently Swiss. And suffice to say, well, I won't say any more than that. My mother always said, if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say it. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy and he's got a heart of gold. But man, oh man, and the commentary today was Malaysia, Malaysia, Malaysia. Okay, which is great. I'm happy for Malaysia too. I really am. And they got forward, as did Hungary. So bravo Zula. It's not that he was apparently against the U.S. It was that, well, the commentary was not correct. Several of you told me that previously, privately. But they need to fix that. So they are into now what they call the quarterfinals, which is 16 teams, starting in 3 days' time on the 27th of November, running through the 1st of December, and then they've got the half finals and the finals. It's really not the quarterfinals. It's the one, I don't know why there's semifinals is normally 4 teams, not 8 teams. Quarterfinals is normally 8 teams, not 16 teams, but be that as it may, 2 teams go forward from each of the blocks. As you can see, the first and the second go forward, first and second, as has happened here and previously in each of those blocks. So what is going on? Then we get to the finals, semifinals on December, 2nd, and the finals on December 3rd. So this is coming rapidly to a conclusion in the Canaries, and we'll follow it because I think overall what they've done is fabulous for our sport, and I think this big picture long term probably has bigger legs than some of the other things that we have come to know and love, like maybe even Sail GP. We shall see. Peter Sangmeister says Jan is Danish. Well, if he is, and Peter's there sailing, or he was there, he must be there still. I thought I saw online, Peter, that he is Swedish. If he is Danish, I apologize to him. But I went online and researched because your dad, I thought, told me that he was Dutch. So I'm not sure if he's Dutch, Danish, or what, but as a commentator, I'm not going to go into it. What else here? I'm going to go from the bottom. Brazilians should be commentators. Haha, James Frederick Bland is saying. Well, for sure, Jody should be a commentator. Hello, Andrew McIrvin, another Fozy whom we deeply appreciate, not only for his COVID advice, but other advice, especially of late, that he's giving me. Mark Husted, Bland, French, Irish, and Welsh. I don't know what he is. The French are just the worst, especially when they speak it on TV. Why is that, Stingray? Both Brazil and Lithuania are through. Yes, Jan is Danish. Peter Sangmeister. Now, Peter Sangmeister was racing on the American team, and presumably he is there watching the show in the Canaries. If he is a Dane, yes, Clark Chapin, I should apologize to the Swiss. And if he's Swiss, we'll all apologize to the Danes. And Clark Chapin said, I saw yesterday that they quoted rules wrong and didn't know what OCS. Yeah, they just were off the pace as commentators. They're probably volunteers. If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, as the old saying goes. And of course, having done a fair bit of this over the last 30 plus years, I can appreciate that it's not the easiest thing to do, and experience is the whole deal. I've been watching SSL every day, Philip Laughlin says, but turn down the volume. Yeah, okay, I think that we've beaten that one to death, haven't we? The America's Cup, which needs a bit of a beating itself, there's 1 week to Jeddah. That's the AC37 Cup date, and they issued a video yesterday promoting, yet again, the Jeddah event.
The oldest trophy in all of international sport, the America's Cup.
There is no second place. Look, I hope this is a terrific event. I hope it's safe. I hope a lot of people watch it. I hope the competition is close. I really do. But I think it's all wrong. I think running an event, and there was I'm not going to run it today. I'll probably run it Tuesday, but there was a report, again, of their lack of judicial restraint, I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to talk about it Tuesday. I hope it's a terrific event. We shall see in a week's time. Chris actually saying there was a good interview with Ben Ainsley on the planet. Yeah, Planet Sail ran today a 13-minute video about the Brits, and it's too long a video, and I like Matt Sheehan's stuff, and maybe we'll run it. America's Cup, dial up in the dirt, as James Frederick is calling this. I like that. Dial up in the dirt. I just hope there's wind, Jody Shields is asking. I just hope they're stating. Who's going to be in BCN next year? Mark Husted is asking. Well, we know that Julie Aarons is going to be. We know Stingray is. We'll see who else. Stingray, I am so looking forward to the Jeddah event. Imagine the fireworks during the pre-start. Okay. Any other comments here? Well, and others of you have said, why are you giving this any ink at all? Well, it's a major event in our sport. That is the America's Cup. If not it is the major event in our sport. It is of interest to all of us, including me. I do hope the event comes off well and certainly safely. I do think it doesn't matter how it comes off. It's still Crutonic, the fact that they're staging it in the KSA, given what is going on there and continues to go on there. If you think the America's Cup is going to change their habits and attitudes in the kingdom, you are sadly mistaken. This is all about the money. Follow the money. Enough said for today. It's Thanksgiving. It's a nice weekend. We give thanks to all of you and to our beloved sport. Ted Ryman, let's not lose our heads. It will be a good event if there is enough wind. Well, we'll see. We shall see. Hope you're right, Ted. I do hope you're right. Bidding down, we're an hour and 8 minutes in to this show, the last leg. And remember, you had that list at the top of the show of cool events coming out. We got a lot going on here in this upcoming month of December. I'm really looking forward to it. You think that things dial back, but certainly not in the Southern Hemisphere, and even in the Northern Hemisphere. There's a fair bit going on in our sport, but one of those events is in Sydney. Another event is in China. Final event coming up in Shenzhen, China, off the 17th of December. I'm looking forward to it. It carries on there longer than I thought. James Pleasant's one of our favorite Fozy, checking in with me this morning and talking with him. He will, of course, be there. And I said at the top of the show, sounds to me like the Women's Match Racing Championship World Women's Match Racing Championship could be back here in San Francisco in approximately May with the Vela Cup. We hope to see that happening. Julia, that will make you happy as well. Comments. Graham Sweeney, the bottom line, it's a contentious decision. He's back on Jeddah, but it's going to happen so hard. Hats on, grab your cojones, and hope all goes well, indeed. And I share that thought, Graham. Thank you very much. Clark Chapin, as long as it's in the Red Sea, maybe they should get a hoodie. Those not so nice people in Somalia, Yemen, get a hoodie race officer. They seem to have all sorts of objects to call attention to the visual signals, Clark Chapin says. We're in the D block, well and truly. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and I will open with a photo by another one of our esteemed Fozy, Rick Bannerow, who sent this to me, and this is a bit of a sign of the times apropos U.S. sailing. Not going to go into it today, but Rick, thank you for the photo. U.S. sailing is well and truly upside down. They've capsized their buoys. There's some great stuff that goes on thanks to people like Clark Chapin, who are amazing volunteers. But there's some awful stuff going on and continuing. It just seems like one thing after another in U.S. sailing. I'm sorry to say it, but we're to the point where the non-sailing CEO, and I've laid off him. I haven't said anything since he was brought in two and a half years ago. He's got to go. He obviously doesn't understand our sport. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't know how to make an organization that's fiscally responsible. Got to go. The non-sailing CEO has got to go at U.S. Sailing. We'll talk some more about that in the coming days and weeks. Another strange thing that happened this week is that SailGP has pulled their Auckland event, which was to be in remind me if I'm wrong, I think it was March, but it apparently will go ahead elsewhere in New Zealand. Remember this year's SailGP event was in Christchurch. Was it Christchurch? Yeah, it was Christchurch, right? And then was it Christchurch? Or was it Wellington? It was Christchurch, I think. I can't remember now if it was Christchurch or Wellington. And it was to alternate in future years between I think over a 4 or 5 year deal between Auckland and, now I can't remember if it's Christchurch or Wellington. But apparently they've pulled the Auckland event, and it may be, I'm not quite sure why. There's some give and take on stuff.co.nz from whence this headline and photo came. And we'll find out more about that in the coming days and see where that event apparently will still take place in New Zealand, but apparently not in Auckland. Another sign of the proverbial times. Julia will know this is a photo I took just across the street from us here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. In fact, over in front of the apartment building I used to live in before I moved here to what is now the Beach Street Yacht Club. And sign of the times here in San Francisco. Notice, this is on a Range Rover, I think it's a Range Rover. Nice car, obviously. Notice, no valuables stored inside. And that's just to keep people from bashing your car and looking around, trying to find stuff that might be of value in your car. And I've seen handmade signs that people have done. Some people leave their windows down and say, hey, there's nothing in here. Don't bash my windows. But I've never seen what looks like a hardware store sign. Notice, no valuables stored inside. And if that isn't Croutonic, I don't know what is. Lovely San Francisco culture. Yeah, it was Christchurch. Okay, thank you. I had that right. Thank you all. It is Christchurch is the alternative venue, apparently, in New Zealand for SailGP. Now this, Jody, if you're still on, I hope you are, because this came from Ryman, and he said, you got to run this. Senosilicophobia, did I say that right? Senosilicophobia is the fear, and this is a real thing, is the fear of an empty beer glass. Ted asked us in sending that in, he asked us to dedicate this to you, Jody Shields, on this show, which of course is a drinking show, some say, with a sailing habit. Getting toward Christmas, as we say, it's looking a lot like Christmas. We're in the holiday season now, well and truly. Santa has been reading all your posts this year. Most of you are getting dictionaries. Ryman also sent that one in. Graham Sweeney says, yeah, Jody has that for sure. Of course, if you had valuables inside, you'd be well advised to put that sign in your windshield. We just don't leave our cars on the street, let alone anything in it. Spelling counts, Kounts, dictionaries. Ted Ryman, thank you for sending that in. This is a funny one that several of you sent in. Free water, a quarter of a mile, but this guy's obviously a sailor. He's probably a Fosey. A free sailboat, 40 miles. Somebody's photoshopped that one. I don't know what was on that sign originally. And finally, nobody is perfect, but if you can sail, you're pretty damn close to being perfect. I think most of us on here would agree, because we do love yacht racing and sailing, and most importantly, we love sailors. People are smart, as my 90-year-old dad says. You have to be mentally and physically agile, is the word he used. Clark Chapin will back me up on that. And you have to be mentally and physically fit, but you have to be agile to be able to sail, and just to sail. Forget about sailing well, which is why we all enjoy John Emmett's reports so much, I am sure. I like that sketch. Oh, yeah, they're all being funny now. Spelling counts. Jody has that for sure. Go Blue. Joe Holtzman is talking about blue. What is Go Blue? Well, luckily, just for you, Joe, and a few others, Clark Chapin, my mother, if she's watching, any of you, this is even for you, Julie Ahrens. I dedicate this to you. But this is the scene in the North America's largest stadium, owned by the University of Michigan, the so-called Big House, formerly known as Michigan Stadium. This was a snowy Saturday 2 years ago in Michigan Stadium when Michigan played and beat Ohio State, the arch rival down in Columbus, Ohio, where that game was held. It was held in Columbus last year, and Michigan won that game as well. Can it be a three-peat? Well, we'll find out on Saturday in Ann Arbor, Ohio State versus Michigan. The whole college football world comes to a stop. Everybody watches the game. Both teams are undefeated. Both teams are ranked in the top 4. And we'll see how that goes in Ann Arbor at noon local time on Saturday. Go Blue! That's just for you, Joe Holtzman. In one of the largest stadia in the world, certainly the largest in North America, college or otherwise. Okay, enough of all that. If Julie were here, she would say, please like, follow, and share. And I would say, of course, comments are welcome, even in replay. Again, we appreciate very much, not just on Thanksgiving weekend, but always we appreciate those of you who support us. Thanks for your support. If you want to join those who do, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And I'd ask Julia if she has any final thoughts while we're thanking those who give us video, audio, and images for today's show. But since she is not here, the golden scarf hung over her microphone and her headset hung over the back of her chair. See if any of you has a final thought. Alistair Murray saying thanks, of course. Thanks, Chris Exley. Thank you, Ted Ryman. Coach Khaki Pants. Yeah, Jimmy Harbaugh, who's the Michigan coach, has been suspended for the last 3 games, the last 2, and also the suspension carries over his, I guess, his offensive coordinator. Is that the guy who's going to coach from the sidelines? Yeah, Coach Jim Harbaugh will not be coaching the team, which it just adds to the intrigue, adds to the mystery. We shall see. Texas plays Texas Tech today for first seed in the Big 12 tournament. Yeah, Washington plays Washington State. Oregon plays Oregon State. There are rivalry games this weekend. Julie Ahrens says, go Buckeyes. Okay, Julie. I'll be texting you during the game, Julie. I think, actually, it's a tough road to hoe when you're the visiting team, as the Buckeyes are up in Ann Arbor in that huge stadium. Seats 12,000 people, something like that. But regardless, let's just enjoy the competition and the rivalry in college sports, and hope you all have a great rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. And just to conclude with this cartoon courtesy of Joe Holtzman, let's just acknowledge that without sailing, we wouldn't even have, at least here in this country, we wouldn't have Thanksgiving, which is a holiday. It's since the mid 1800s, it was declared by Abraham Lincoln, for those of you who didn't know that. And we're grateful for all of you, especially the Fozy and especially Julia. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And if you can, go sailing, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. For both Julia and myself, ciao for now.